So about a week ago now, we got confirmation that D'Angelo Russell would be in the starting unit. And so now we know that D'Lo, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis would be the 4 of the 5 in the starting unit for the Los Angeles Lakers. And for me, that was a no-brainer. That was something that I was talking about even when there were all the rumors and reports of like, oh, maybe Gabe Vincent can be in the starting unit, or maybe they, go another direction. I just thought for continuity's sake, that was the best course of action. You have your 2 best shooters. You have your best defensive player in Anthony Davis and your other superstar. You have LeBron James, who basically can do everything. And I just thought that was the best core group. And then that 5th spot was the one that was kind of up in the air and of question. Do they go with Christian Wood alongside AD? Do they go with Rui Hachimura? Do they go with Jarred Vanderbilt? How do the Lakers approach that sort of 5th spot in this unit? Do they go with somebody like a Taurean Prince to kind of bring some veteranness to that lineup? And maybe have him at the 3 spot, LeBron at the 4, and AD at the 5. That was something that also wouldn't have been a bad option. And the beauty is the Lakers have so much depth, so much talent, so many arguments to be made for various players. Like, even Gabe Vincent in the starting unit makes sense, right? Because you have that point of attack defensive guy at the guard position. You could even play him alongside Jarred Vanderbilt. Now you got like a real defensive style lineup. You could go with like Cam Reddish to add some youth and athleticism, add some speed down the course. Even like a Max Christie has really looked great so far in training camp on both sides of the basketball. He looked great in the summer league. Granted, it's summer league, but you saw what you wanted to see. A guy that was in Summer League playing against a bunch of like rookies and guys that are basically in the same position that he's in. How does he look? Is he head and shoulders above everybody, or is he somewhere in between, or is he still kind of the same? No, he was clearly the best player that was out on the court every single night, and he was just coasting. Those are the things that you really like to see. And then obviously Christian Wood, that gives you another rebounder, another sizable player. Darvin Ham has kind of liked the idea of playing those 2 with their size and their length. So there are many options. But through this training camp, we kind of have our answer as to who it appears is going to be in the starting unit. And according to Jovan Buha, for those keeping track, the starters are all wearing purple jerseys. Davis, Reeves, with the bench players wearing white, Vincent, Wood, Prince, etc. Jarred Vanderbilt is wearing purple. Rui Hachimura is wearing white. That suggests Vando got the run with the starters, at least in the final scrimmage. So this, again, gives us the insight that so far Jarred Vanderbilt has been in the starting unit, at least in that final run. Personally, I've said this constantly. I think that they need to keep Jarred Vanderbilt in the starting unit. I think, one, keep the continuity from last season, right? Last season, you had a roster and a starting 5 unit that helped you lead to the Western Conference Finals. Don't mess that up. You were the best defensive team in the league with Jarred Vanderbilt in the starting lineup. So you have Jarred Vanderbilt, you have Anthony Davis, who are your 2 best defensive guys. You got Jarred Vanderbilt, who could guard the best player on any team on any night, gives you that point of attack defensive guy. And then you also hopefully have him improving in that corner 3. He's been working all offseason like a madman on that spot up corner 3. Hopefully he can kind of take that next step. I'm not saying he has to be 40% or anything like that, but can he be around 35, 36%? That would be ideal. That would be perfect. That's around league average. But even if he's 33, 34%, at least that's respectable enough to where teams are going to have to challenge and close out on him. But it's more of him in the defensive side, because now you have your 2 best shooters in Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, both shot in the 40s last season. And then you have your 2 playmakers besides LeBron James in Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. So you don't have to wait for the point guard to cut. Like, any of these guys can get the ball and just take off running, right? Jarred Vanderbilt now is your best perimeter defender, point of attack defender, can guard anybody on the opposing team. And then you have Anthony Davis, best defense player in the world. This is supposedly his team this year, so we'll see. Hopefully he's playing MVP level standard. And then LeBron James, keep that continuity, keep building on what you established and were starting to build last season, and really get this run. Now, again, obviously on certain nights, maybe you change it up slightly. Say you're playing Minnesota, right? And, they got Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Maybe you do insert like a Rui Hachimura at the 4 because of how well he defended Karl Anthony Towns that we saw this past play-in tournament, right? You saw Rui really give Karl Anthony Towns some fits. So maybe you give that look, or maybe you go with like a Jackson Hayes or a Christian Wood, something along those lines. Now, if you're playing a team like the Golden State Warriors, then yeah, you probably keep Jarred Vanderbilt in the starting unit, right? Or maybe you do go Gabe Vincent and Jarred Vanderbilt to kind of match Chris Paul, Steph Curry, right? So that way, you know, D'Lo doesn't have to defend like Klay Thompson or something like that. And you don't have Austin Reeves having to guard Chris Paul or something, right? There's mix and match that you could do. And that's, again, what is so beautiful about this roster and what flexibility this roster really truly gives us. But assuming Jarred Vanderbilt has taken some strides in his three-point shot, again, we won't know until we actually see it in games, but we know he worked on it like a madman, then I just think that he would be your best 3-and-D guy, right? Because he's the guy that is your best defensive player, not named Anthony Davis, and if he can just be serviceable from three, then now it's a home run. Also, you know, somebody like Taurean Prince, yes, he's a good defensive player. He can defend basically 1 through 4, and he gives you like 39% from three. So the comparables are like, okay, would you rather have a good defensive player that's shooting 39%, or would you have an elite defensive player that can basically keep every single superstar well below their average and give you, 34% from three? I'd rather have that. But there was the argument, like if Jarred Vanderbilt hasn't improved his three-point shot, and let's say he's still around like 30%, then I do think there is an argument for like a Taurean Prince to be inserted into the starting unit, because then at least you're getting a high level of three-point production, and you're getting not the elite defense, but you're getting good enough defense to where he can make an impact on both sides of the basketball. That's how I look at it. Now, as far as Rui Hachimura goes, right, now he's talked about this, and he even said, like, hey, I don't really care so much about starting. I care about closing. I want to be in the closing unit, which I absolutely love, because I've said that repeatedly. Like, usually your 5 guys that are closing are usually the 5 best players on the team, or they're the 5 guys that have just been dominating this game, right? They've been the 5 best players all game, and you usually want to keep that out there. But Rui Hachimura, he's also been working with LeBron James a lot, so you'd imagine that you would think that there'd be some level of influence in that regard, but I don't like the idea of Rui Hachimura in the starting lineup with LeBron, D'Lo, Reeves, and Anthony Davis, just because I feel like we're going to see what we saw last season, which is Rui Hachimura is just going to kind of be relegated to being a spot-up three-point shooter in the corner, which, if that's the case, I would rather have Taurean Prince, or I'd rather have Jarred Vanderbilt. But if you're actually going to use Rui in a proper manner, put him on the block, let him run some offense through him. I'm not saying you have to run every play, every possession, but if you can run some offense through him and get him going, especially early on, then I have no problems with that. Also, Rui did clear the rumors about him slimming down. He said that, no, he's still around the same weight. He just kind of got more refined. And because he's been with LeBron all season, it just, him standing next to LeBron, he just looks, slimmer, right? So if that's the case, well, I mean, it is the case. I don't know why Rui would say otherwise. But so since that's the case, I also don't like the idea of him at the 3 spot, because he struggled against perimeter guys. He struggled against the twitchier wings in the league. And if you put him at the 4, now you have LeBron James game in and game out chasing around all of these younger, twitchier perimeter guys. I just see that is a quick way to get him worn out over the course of a season. And the idea is to keep him as fresh as possible. That's why you got the roster that you have. So I would rather have Rui Hachimura, Taurean Prince, Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, and Christian Wood. I'd rather have that be your next 5 unit that comes in. Also, that would allow Rui to kind of be more of an offensive threat in that regard, because now you have Gabe Vincent, who's just basically a 3-and-D style point guard. You have Taurean Prince, who's a basically 3-and-D style player. You have Max Christie, who's very likely at this stage of his career just going to be a 3-and-D style player. And then you have Christian Wood, who can just go get buckets. And then you have Rui Hachimura, who could just go get buckets. So I like that idea better and allow kind of Gabe Vincent to man the second unit. Now you got some good defense with him, Max Christie, Torian Prince, Christian Wood, Rui Hachimura, and you got good floor space. You got everything you need for a bench unit. I mean, that's the best bench unit in the league by far, right? So I would love to see something along those lines. Keep the continuity of the starting unit. It allows Rui to kind of thrive more and maybe even compete for that sixth man of the year role, which I'd love to see him do. And I just think you're going to have more success that way. There's just too many questions with Rui in the starting unit where I fear that he's just going to kind of become an afterthought. And there is the argument of like Rui would be good to get us going early offensively, right? Because you'd have, like, we've struggled early on offensively. We saw that last season, but I also think a lot of that was just continuity issues and lack of chemistry and guys really just kind of being thrusted in to this whirlwind where now we'll get to see. And early on in the season, it'll give us a good understanding as we move on. So I could see these two being interchangeable game in and game out, depending on the matchup, as I mentioned. But in general, I think Jarred Vanderbilt is the best approach. I think Jarred Vanderbilt is the way that they should go about it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you agree, disagree? Do you want Rui in the starters, Vando in the starters? How do you feel? Let me know down in the comments.